Carl and Damon here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's they made what into a TV series, Castlevania Nocturne, Episode 3, Freedom Was Sweeter, directed by Sam Dietz and Tam Lu, and written by Zwadwa Nyoni. And I think this writer was brought in, or possibly, was the right choice, because we are talking about a subject that certain people will not perhaps be able to express in the right way. We are talking about slavery, uprising, and elements like that done very, very, very well. And I think that was a smart choice, potentially, by the showrunners and creators.
Yeah, definitely 100%.
We begin seeing Drolta anointing vampires who have pledged their allegiance to Elizabeth via a brand to the forehead, the latest being Val Blanc. We skip to Annette, who is heartbroken, and the others try to comfort her, because, of course, in the previous episode, we lost Edouard by a vampiric biting. Yes.
Dark, man. It was dark.
It was very dark. It's one of my favourite scenes in all of the Castlevania show up to date. She begins to explain why he means so much to her as we flash back to Saint Dominique in 1780. She was just a child, working with her mother, working in the fields of a plantation. Her mother saves her from the whip when she chases a rat across the path of a horse rider. Later in her home, they're approached by Val Blanc, who accuses the woman of secret and sets about tearing the place apart, finding a symbol carved that suggests she can cast spells. Furious, Val Blanc takes her outside and kills Annette's mother. So early on, we established that Val Blanc was the owner of the plantation, but he was also a vampire at this stage too.
Like I say, like for this entire scene, man, the music.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
They've nailed the nail on the head and everything in this here.
Yeah, I was a bit worried when I saw Nocturne, and I realised that music was going to be a focal point, because one of its music I don't really like or care for. It's not done well, and so on. There's a later episode that I think does it better than any other point in the show, but we'll get to that, of course. Seeing her pain, Richter tells her he knows her pain, but he fled he fled. She couldn't. Annette, by keeping her mother's lullabies in her heart, awakened her own powers. As she grew up, she would attempt to escape time after time and be punished for it. 10 years after her mother's death, age 16, she was to be branded once and for all. But in front of Val Blanc, she used her dormant powers and fought back, which is a great scene. Confused and in serious danger, Annette is encouraged to run by Val Blanc as he mocks her. She's chased by guards and dogs, ending up in a town. We're looking for somewhere to hide. She sees Val Blanc on horseback, so ends up going into a building, ending up in the back room of an opera house where Edouard is performing on stage. So here we go.
Yep.
Annette is transfixed by his voice, shocked by how he is treated differently, being a black man on stage. I thought this was a really fascinating element to the characters. Definitely. Is that, they're both black characters. She is a slave being hunted by her owner, who also is a vampire. But Edouard, a black man, performing on stage in front of royalty, in front of upper class, and worshipped for it. Unfortunately, the performance is interrupted by the arrival of Val Blanc and his men and dogs. Edouard demands to know the meaning of the intrusion, with Val Blanc insisting that his dogs know she came this way.
I like that scene too, though, because it also shows that the power that Edouard has over the audience, instead of the fact that he's...
Well, that's what he uses to kind of get rid of Val Blanc, because Val Blanc, seeing that he's kind of disturbing the gentry and they are his people as much as anything else, he leaves with the promise of waiting outside, basically.
Yep.
After the performance, Edouard goes back to his dressing room and finds Annette hiding in his closet. He's kind to her, allowing her to take clothes and being respectful about it too. He also reveals that he suspects Val Blanc to be a vampire and points out that even though their stations in life are different, they are the same. And he acknowledges this, but he also acknowledges the fact that I have this because of the voice, because of this and so on. Don't think we're any different.
Basically, I would be you.
I am a slave to this, basically, is what I got. Edouard is able to smuggle her out and to safety in the mountains. There, Annette joins a rebellion, learns spells, and learns how to control her powers. And led by the seer Cecile, they lead a slave rebellion in Saint Dominique. The island burns, with Annette and Edouard going to kill Val Blanc in his home. They find him on a balcony as he speaks about slavery being the natural order. Now, this is for later, but slavery is an aspect of this entire show that is super important. Slavery also from how many different perspectives and ways it can be viewed. You have I don't know if you want to call it, traditional slavery connotations here between black people and white masters and how that's been treated, but with the twist of vampires being at the head of it all. But then you have further along, you have slavery from the Edward perspective. But you have slavery to Christianity, slavery to a revolution, slavery to a god, which is very important for later on as well. They try to kill him, of course, but he's very powerful and able to escape. With Saint Dominique free, Edward sings, but Annette goes to see Cecile. She's having a vision, though, one of a vampire messiah, and instructs her and Edward to go to France and find a boy named Richter Belmont. And that's how we got here. Very well told, concise, but also detailed enough to tell us quite a lot about Annette, where her bitterness and anger comes from, but also why Edward is so important to her. He saved her. She feels like she probably owes him as much as anything else.
He's free there,
Richter swears to Annette that they will avenge Edward. At the Abbey, Mizrak is training with his sword when the arrival of vampire Ulrox gets his attention. He confronts him, but Ulrox does get the upper hand and wants to know why the abbot is making night creatures, as it doesn't sit well with the faith. And Ulrox, good question. You're making night creatures. I don't seem very Christian, does it?
Nope.
Absolutely. But Mizrak talks of faith being order. And with the world abandoning them, they need to protect themselves. And I'm like, man, you're a cultist. And I get it, is that you have to hold on to this belief that this act of evil is in the greater good, and that, say, if it says Christianity, it's justified. That you've got to do that, because otherwise, what else do you have? Exactly, I felt sorry for Mizrak. I realised I got him, and we've seen characters like this before. Ulrich reveals that he knows Mizrak's name and questions the alliance with Elizabeth, pointing out that she will turn on them eventually. But I don't think anybody's not aware of that. I think everybody knows this kind of like this is an uneasy alliance, and once I suspect that everybody thinks they've got one over on the other.
Yes, 100%.
Mizrak's not willing to believe him though, so Ulrich leaves after telling him his name. So they do introduce each other here. Do love Ulrich though. He's going to get even better in the show.
Top quality,
I love the voice actor. I love his voice.
Brilliant,
smooth, silky.
I love just the way he looks too. I mean, again, the animation is unbelievable.
Of course, no question. Yeah, absolutely. Drolta contacts Elizabeth via Magic Stone and tells her of their progress. Elizabeth talks of having a dream where she was a supreme ruler. Maria now introduces Annette to the other revolutionaries to inspire them. And Annette gives a rousing speech, cut with the abbot giving one in his church. One of my favourite things about the show is how they do these speeches or sections where two different voices are speaking about the same thing, which is faith often in different things, but it's just from different angles. And it's done brilliantly here. Two different sides, both with different ideologies, but both enemies of vampires. And I think that's really important as well. Is that they've got more in common than they think. The meeting, though, was set upon by night creatures. Something the abbot seems to have arranged, as he tells his congregation to stay in the church as God will protect them. So we kind of obviously found out there was going to be a meeting and set some night creatures on them. The battle with the night creatures is hard, made all the worse when night creature Edward appears. It seems to recognise Annette, though, and she it. Because I suppose it kind of has... it kind of does, maybe because of the face with the hands over the eyes. The eyes. It's the eyes. He's got bright, brilliant blue eyes. This distraction's enough for a night creature to get the jump on her. But just when it looks like Annette is about to be killed, the night creature that was Edward saves her. Which is a new wrinkle. Another night creature, seeing this, swoops down, picks Edward up and heads back to the Abbey. Our heroes can't quite believe what they saw, and Annette breaks down seeing what has happened to her friend to end the episode. Great stuff.
100%.
Great stuff. Don't really have a lot more to say than that, really. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The story, getting Annette's backstory, really, really important, really interesting. She's a very developed character now. Some still need a bit of work, like Maria and Tara and stuff like that.
But I mean, the one thing that this show does so brilliantly is the fact that it doesn't have to have violence, attacks, vampires, killing everything. It can just be a story episode. And it's still brilliant.
But also that we don't always have to focus on a Belmont.
Exactly.
So Richter can be a character, but can be other people's stories too. It's good stuff. It's Nocturne. It's episode 3. Freedom Was Sweeter. Got any thoughts on it? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.